For the first 5 years of my entrepreneurship career, I thought that if I build a great product, the market will eventually reward me. But now we live in a world of AI where most of my product can just get cloned in one afternoon. And that belief is not just outdated, but it's dangerous.
I don't write any code anymore.
Go of human employees, sure, they're going to hire AI.
My work in AI is going to end humanity.
Now that still sounds absurd. Here's the most recent example of a great product but weak moat. In the recent times, Figma, when it went public in 2025, investors treated it like the future of design. It sat at the center of how modern teams design their apps and websites. It was growing revenues around 40-50% a year, and everyone assumed it would benefit from the AI design wave that came about. The hype was so strong after listing. Figma traded at more than 50 times its expected revenues and the market value north of $50-60 billion. One of the most expensive software stocks on the entire planet. Then reality caught up.
Figma's post-IPO rally losing some steam today with the design software company stock dropping 27%, shedding nearly $17 billion in market value just today.
And bigger players started rolling out their own AI design features inside the apps that people were already using. From that peak, Figma stock fell roughly about 80%, tens of billions of dollars of value all wiped out, even though designers still genuinely like the product. That's the world you and I are building in. Even a beloved category-defining product can be marked down like a meme stock price once the market decides. It's just one more feature in the bigger AI toolkit. Now, big companies can absorb what I do just by releasing a new feature, and small teams can copy exactly what I do just by using a bunch of subscription tools. The real question is, what is my moat really? And by moat, I simply mean what makes this business hard to attack or replicate once it's already working. Because if your business works, and the hard part is to make a business works, but once it's working, you're bound to get a lot of competitors in that same market competing. In this video, we're going to be looking at 5 moats that still matter in an AI-accelerated market. Moat built on behavioral data, moats built on networks, moats built on regulation and permission, moats built on capital and real-world footprints, and moats built on credibility, trust, and attention. Now, think of these as 5 lenses to judge your job, your side project, or your next startup idea. Now, to explain them, we'll use examples of things that you already know. UPI, Swiggy, Zomato, Rapido, and India's dating and matrimonial apps. Hi, I'm Rohit and welcome to Breakdown. But first, we need one simple mental model. Why is AI destroying some advantages and strengthening the others? For that, you have to see your work as running on 2 clocks, one on the screen and one in the real world. Now, the first clock is everything that happens on screen. Writing code, designing workflows, writing tools together, writing emails and docs. This is what we usually optimize for. How fast can we ship? How quickly can we push the next version of it out? AI is speeding this clock up for everyone. It can already help you write a lot of the code, make designs, connect common apps, and get a decent version out one in days or couple of weeks instead of months. The second clock lives in the real world. Now, this looks at things like how long does it take for people to actually find out about you and actually trust you? How long does it take for habits to form from choosing your apps every day to not just trying it once? How long does it take for you to get your license and approvals? And that's a big one. How long does it take for you to build your warehousing, charging stations, and clinics? And how long does it take for you to build your reputation where someone is comfortable paying you money? AI can make parts of this smoother, your planning, paperwork, analysis. It can't shortcut the human and physical side. For years, most of us tried to put our moats in the first clock. We have great engineers, we can ship out fast, our product is hard to build, and that's exactly the part that's under attack now because AI has just disrupted all of it. The long-lasting advantages mostly live in the second clock. Things that only show up years in that reality. Behavioral data that only exists because people have been using the product for a long time. Networks that only exist because a lot of people already interact through you and you are the platform. Permissions and licenses that were painful to get, your physical infra that took a lot of time and money to build, trust and relationships you didn't blow up when things went wrong. AI compresses the time it takes to do the work on the screen. It doesn't compress the time it takes to do all the things that happen off the screen. So when you think about it, the real question is, if anyone can spin up a decent version 1 of my idea now, what's the part that still takes years even with AI? And that's where your moat needs to live. Now, the first place this really shows up is in the data you quietly collect over time. Not some vague, this is big data, but the very specific patterns you only see after millions of swipes, taps, and orders. And you have already helped build 2 of the best examples in India, UPI and food delivery. Now, not all data is equal. When people say data moat, it sounds like you just need a huge database. In reality, the data that matters in AI has 3 simple traits. It's created by people that are actually using your product, it keeps changing and gets richer over time, and it's painful for others to recreate even though they can copy your features, your product, all of that. Now, UPI and food delivery are perfect Indian examples. On the surface, every UPI app looks the same. Scan, pay, and now split the bills. With today's tool, a decent team can copy-paste that workflow very fast. There's no real moat in that. The real moat isn't the interface, it's the behavioral history behind it. Over the years, these apps quietly learn who pays whom, how often does a transaction happen, and around what dates, which merchants spike before salary day, how different users respond to different offers and cashbacks, and which pattern usually means fraud or non-repayment. That behavior data shows up directly in how much money they make or lose. Now, this is very important data because using that data, you can make and build a lot more businesses on top of that. And that stack is very important. That behavior data shows up directly in how much money they make and lose. They can tell which users are safe to give credit to and how much instead of guessing and taking big hits on defaults. Now, this reduces the operational load of a business. They can even show offers to people who actually change their behaviors instead of spraying random cashbacks on everyone and hoping it works. AI can help them analyze that behavior better, but it can't skip the years of effort it took to actually collect that data. Now look, a new UPI app can copy the same look, the same workflows, the designs, and the exact same product, but it still has to live through all those years of transactions to build the same data repository and intuition. Now that compounding behavior of data is a real moat here because businesses can build multiple stacks and different verticals on top of that data set. And that is the real use case over here. All apps feel the same on the surface, but Swiggy and Zomato have years of data on things like which areas see the most number of orders and when, which restaurants are reliable and the ones that always deliver late, how many orders a rider can realistically do per hour in each of those pockets, which pin codes are usually loss-making at certain times. Now this lets them take all that data so they can promise better ETAs that they can actually hit, price delivery sensibly by which area they operate in, design offers that drive repeat profitability, and decide when it's worth opening a new dark store or adding riders. A new player can copy the screen, but they can't instantly copy the ground level memory of what's happening when an order goes out. So again, the moat is the live behavior driven data that keeps compounding. A quick test now for your own ideas. For whatever you're building, ask yourself this one question. If 1,000 people use this next month, what would I know afterwards that I don't know today and that a competitor can't just download? If the answer is not much, your data advantage is very weak. And if the answer is I'd start seeing patterns only I can see because I am in the loop, then you're closer to the moat. Static data now is a head start. Live behavioral data that keeps compounding is an edge that actually gets stronger as AI keeps improving. And once you see that, another pattern becomes very obvious. Some products become more valuable not just because of their data, but because every new user makes them better for everyone else. Now that's the second lens. It's called network effects. Some products don't just collect data, they actually get better for everyone when more people use them. That's what a network effect is. Every new user adds value for the existing user and not just for you. If more people joining only gives you more revenue, that's growth. If it also improves like the product for everyone that's already inside, that's a moat. You see this every time when you open Swiggy, Zomato, Meta, YouTube, or a dating app. On your phone, any food app looks similar. Scroll, pick a restaurant, pay, track the order. But the value you get depends on the network around that app. More restaurant gives you more choices for the customer. More customers gives you more orders. So restaurants and riders care about the platform. More riders gives you like faster delivery, better coverage, and brings in more customers. Each side makes the other side stronger, and that flywheel effect is what makes Swiggy and Zomato so hard to disrupt. Now the real barrier isn't can you build the app, is if you can recreate a 3-sided network across thousands of neighborhoods. Here the moat isn't the app, it's a network wrapped around the app. Now imagine Rapido entering into the food delivery space. They already have a large fleet of riders and they're already pitching a near zero commission with a restaurant friendly model. Building a decent app is not their biggest problem. The hard part is convincing enough good restaurants in each area to sign up to their app. Doing it city by city, locality by locality, reaching the point when a user opens Rapido, it doesn't feel empty. If you open a new food app and your regular biryani place isn't there, like for example, my favorite is Nagarjuna and Meghna's, you will just like shut down the app. Now you won't say, but their AI recommendations are so amazing. You just close the app and you'll go back to Swiggy and Zomato. Rapido's existing rider data can help them with better ETAs and routing. But none of that matters unless they actually win the restaurant sign-up games and get new customer acquisition. Without that network, they just have an app, not a moat. Now take the same idea into your love life. Most dating apps feel identical. Swipe, like, match, chat. A small team can build that experience pretty quickly, right? You can do it on one of these like no-code, low-code platforms. But if you open a brand new app and there are barely any profiles in your city, it's game over. You uninstall it and you go back to the ones where people actually are. That's the network effects in its purest form. More real people on the app gives you more chances for you to find someone you like. More matches and success stories gives more people a feel that is worth trying. More active users gives better recommendations and fewer dead chats. Matrimony is the most serious version of this. Platforms like Shadi.com, Jeevansathi, Bharat Matrimony aren't just websites with forms. They're dense networks of families, communities, references, and success stories for years of preferences and filters. You can absolutely build a new matrimony app with a much more sharper filter and an AI compatibility score. But if your Bua and Chachi have never heard of it, it might as well not just exist for your Shadi. In these spaces, the network is the product and the network is the moat. Now, before we go on to the next moat, let's speak about why AI makes cold starts much more harder. Now, here's the twist. AI makes it cheap to build a polished app, a good-looking UI, a smart-sounding copy, and a decent recommendation. So if you are a restaurant, a rider, someone looking for a partner, you're not just choosing between one polished app and one clunky app, but you're choosing between many polished apps. If you only have time and patience to commit to one or two of them, that means the platform that already has that dense networks, a lot of restaurants, a lot of riders, a lot of serious profiles, becomes even more harder to dislodge. And that keeps compounding. So the cold start problem is getting your network from zero to actually useful gets a lot more tougher, and it's not easy. For whatever you're building, just a quick check-in. If a copy of my app launched tomorrow with the same features, the same price, why would people stay with me? Does each new user make the product better for everyone else? Or are you just increasing your own revenue while their experience stays the same? If a new user doesn't improve things for existing users, you don't have a network effect yet. You have an audience or a customer list. Useful, but easy to poach when AI makes cloning cheap. Over time, you want to move towards a space where every new user who joins make this more valuable for the next person who's already here. But some moats don't come from users at all. They come from permission, where the hard part isn't writing code. It's being allowed to operate in the first place. In some places, the real advantage is simple. You're allowed to do things that others aren't. In finance, you can copy a lending app's UI in a weekend, but you can't copy the years of RBI compliances, an NBFC license, a bank partnership, and a clean audit trail. In the health space, anyone can ship out an AI doctor's assistant. Very few people can convince hospitals to plug that into their real-world patient records, survive security reviews, and meet multiple liability standards. In mobility and logistics, you can clone a tracking dashboard. You can't clone government permissions, long-term fleet contracts, airport or port access, or city-by-city approvals for operating at scale. In education, you can build a learning app very, very quickly. But getting recognized by boards, universities, or employers so your certificates actually matter takes years of trust and scrutiny. AI makes the product side much easier for everyone. It's almost democratic. But it doesn't make regulators move faster or institutions take bigger risks on unproven players. So if you're in a regulated space, a key question is, how do I become the team regulators and large institutions are comfortable saying yes to, while everyone in the space is still waiting in the lobby? When that answer is on your side, you're not just building features, you're building permissions. And in these markets, that permission is the moat. There's one more kind of work AI can't shortcut. The kind that has to exist in the real world, not just on the screen. Some moats don't just live in code at all. They live in capital, money turned into steel, land, and long contracts. In telecom, that capital becomes towers, fibers, and spectrum rights you have to pay for over years. In EVs and energy, it becomes factories, charging networks, and power deals that get locked in through real cash and time. Warehouses, fleets, cold chains, data centers, manufacturing lines, these are all slow, expensive, and very painful to build. That pain is exactly why once they exist, they're extremely hard to clone. From this, it's evident that while AI can help you decide where to put your next warehouse, which route to optimize for, how you run a plant more efficiently, what it absolutely cannot do is go back in time and do the slow, expensive work of actually raising money, building all of that in the real world. So, in simple language, when you consistently raise and deploy money into the physical world, into assets, contracts, capacity, you're turning capital itself into that moat. And there's still one last kind of moat that cuts across everything we've talked about, and that is credibility. And before I move into the next moat, your attention span is very scarce. So please like, share, and subscribe. Now over to the next moat. Now, as AI floods the world with more apps, more content, more experts, two things still remain scarce. Who people actually trust, where they actually give their attention to. A fintech app with over 10 years of people safely getting their money back is not the same as a new brand. A doctor, lawyer, or creator you've been following for years is not interchangeable with a stranger reading perfect AI written lines. Features can be cloned, reputation cannot. And that's where the real moat is. You build it by picking a specific group of people, showing up for them again and again and again, and taking full responsibility when things break. Over time, that shows up as customers who keep coming back without discounts, users who forgive mistakes because you fix them fast enough, people who recommend you even when they're not being paid. AI might help you write these emails, polish your UI text, or even help you answer those like support tickets. But the underlying relationships, whether people believe you, listen to you, and stick with you, that's built the slow way, and there's no short-circuiting this. So if you zoom out, the question for your job, your side project, or your company becomes, what exactly am I compounding that AI can't copy tomorrow? Now, is it behavioral data that you only see and learn from networks that become more useful as more people join? Permissions in the forms of licenses, approvals, and integration? Capital turned into real-world physical moats? Or credibility in the form of trust and attention? If the honest answer is mostly features, speed, and cleverness, that's really not a long-term moat. That's actually like a red flag. These are exactly the things AI will keep making cheaper over time. But if months after months, you're pushing a little further on data, networks, permission, capital, and credibility, now you're really solving real world problems. You're building the kind of moat that doesn't disappear the moment someone else just types a better prompt. And in a world where AI can build almost any new software, that might actually be the most important product you work on. And now, after 10 years of doing this entrepreneurship game, I have now realized that first, making a business like successful is already so tough. But it's very important to think about the second order effects of what can happen once your business is successful. Because in today's world, getting to success is as it is so tough. And now once you're already there, sustaining that success and ensuring that you get the compounding velocity of what you're built is as important. Because this just helps you move towards the right direction, and you're shaping your business, you're aligning your teams, you're coordinating your efforts to move into that direction, because real businesses are only built when you structure them such that you have very strong moats. Because if things are successful, competition will anyways come. They will anyways go after this market. So might as well protect it and pre-plan all these things ahead of time. So my name is Rohit Kamath, and thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Thank you. Bye.